Welcome everyone to the Model Frontier. We're here today with Pack 12 of Agora Models Build the RMS Titanic. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a second of any of my great content. Last pack we did some more work on the boat deck. We've actually started putting pieces of the boat deck onto it, and we expanded on our hull a little bit. And we're going to do more of the same today. We're finally going to take some of these loose parts that we've been acquiring for a while and finally just bringing it all together and putting it all onto the deck. This is one of those parts of Partworks where all these, all these parts that you've been doing for weeks and months, they're finally going to start coming together and coalescing into one unit. So this is one of those really exciting parts, and I'm really excited to be bringing it to you. So we really shouldn't waste any time, but before we do have that Titanic trivia question from last time to answer. To refresh your memory, just what was the number of the last lifeboat to be picked up? Was it A, number 2, B, number 9, or C, number 12? And the answer was, it was C. Lifeboat number 12 was the last lifeboat to be picked up by the Carpathia. Now let's get back to Titanic. Okay, so here we are at the start of stage 63, and we're going to begin by adding another section to our hull here. Before we do, though, your first Titanic trivia question for this pack. What prompted Molly Brown to cut short her trip and return to the United States? Was it A, she was short of money, B, she had a sick relative, or was it C, she had a new job? And of course, the answer to that question will come at the end of stage 64. So the first thing we're going to do with our hull section is we're going to add another brace to it. We're going to add another bracket to it right here, just like we did on the other side. And that is going to get held in with a pair of AM screws. As always, since we are going into metal, we will be dipping this in oil. Just like that. Since we are going into metal, we do want these to be in there nice and tight. Now we're moving further back, and we're going to add in our next section here. Now it goes onto this side, and there's 3 points, or 2 points that it's got to connect to. Just like that. And it's going to get held in with 2 different screws. The bottom gets an IM screw into this hole, and the side gets an LM screw, which is going to require your Allen key. So I'm going to start with the IM screw first to secure it in the bottom. With that locked in nice and tight there, we're done with our hull for now. So we're going to put this aside, and we're going to go grab some more, and we're going to go grab our boat deck because we got some stuff to put onto that now. Okay, so moving on with pack 12, after you get the hull done, we're going to continue adding structures to our boat deck and permanently putting them down. Full disclosure, I am doing this a little earlier than before I have the parts for pack 11, but that's just because a lot of the stuff for pack 12 that we're doing in this pack are already parts we have, and we can definitely do that. So the first thing they have you working on is this deck housing. They have you do your light blocking, which I've already done. They tell you to do stickers, but of course I'm doing it paint with paint. So we're going to put this in here. Carefully, we're going to put this in. And once we got that in place like that, we're going to fix it down to our deck with 4 of the AP screws. And we should have plenty of those. You're going to want to be very careful because of the davits we have in the front. So this is going to be very tricky for me to show you. But basically, look on the screen. You'll see we have to put 4 AP screws in this. I'm going to go do that, and then I'll meet you back here. And there we go. That one's in place. Now, if you did like me and were stupid enough to do the A-deck beams first, you may have lost a couple like I did. You're just going to have to glue those back into place. But you have to take a few of them out to put this piece in. And now we're going to continue on forward with our third funnel deck house. Once again, you would start by doing the light blocking, which we've already taken care of doing. Now they want you to put a thing over your lights, but I'm not doing that on mine because I like the lighting and because I've got my fiber optic lighting in there. I don't want to risk messing that up. So because of those, I'm not doing that, but you may choose to if you want. Now we're gonna have to feed our wires through here. So we got 2 wires to feed through. It's going to be very tricky to show you, but the one closest to the front is going to go into this hole here. No. Wait, I'm looking at it wrong. Okay, so the closest one to the front is going to go into this one here. No. So I'm looking at reverse. The wire that goes to the board is going to go into this hole here. No, it's going to go into this hole here. I'm sorry. So the wire that's connected to the circuit board goes to this one, and the loose wire for the funnel is going to go through this hole. Let's feed these through. We're going to have to tip this up. So it looks something like that. You know, let me zoom out a little bit here so we can show you as much as we can here. There, okay, so we're zoomed out a bit more. So now you can see, so this is the cord that goes to the light board, and this cord goes to the funnel. Now, they want us to plug this one here into J1. So they want us to plug this in right here. It's going to be a tight squeeze because it's a small wire. But now that's plugged in. And they say to test it if you want to, but you don't have to right now. Now we're going to fix the base of this funnel here in with 6 AP screws. So I'm going to put those in and meet you back here. So it'll be just like that. And then one more thing they want you to do on the underside here is they want you to connect a wire from this port here to this port here. So basically you're going to connect the 2 ports together. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do now. So I'm going to go do that off camera real quick. And just like that. So if everything's hooked up right, you got your wire here, then both of these will light up when you plug your tester board in. Since they're both lit up, we're good to go. So with those two deck housings in place, the next thing they would want you to do is to put tarps on the 2 collapsible boats on top of the officers' quarters. But since we're using the KA set, we don't need to do that because ours came with it. So that is all there is to do in that stage. So now at this point, we are finally going to attach the officers' quarters and the gymnasium area to our boat deck. So this is a lot of stuff we're going to do. This is the big section. So the first thing we need to do is check where we want our wires to go through here. And it's tough because I'm doing it kind of in a reverse order of where they're at. But this one's actually pretty simple. So the frontmost wire on... So the frontmost wire here is going to go into this hole. The next wire back is going to go into that hole. And then we're doing the same thing with these. The frontmost wire, which will be for the funnel, will go into the frontmost hole, and the rearmost goes into the rearmost. So I'm going to put those in, and then we'll come back. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to go a little out of order here. Before I plug any wires in, I want to get this piece down. So I already put a couple of screws in to do it, but there are 12 spots that you have to put screws in to hold this down. So go put those screws in, and I will meet you back here when this is all done. We'll talk about plugging in wires. Just like that. Now, with our deck secured down, we're going to go ahead and actually plug in these wires where they're going to go. So once again, we're going to flip this up to this so we can look at this. Being as careful as I can here. So we're going to start in the front here. This one is going to plug into this port here. The light is going to plug in here. So that light for the front is plugging in there. And then our light in the back, this wire here, we are going to plug in to this port here, which is labeled J2. Just like that. So we are leaving the 2 wires that go to the funnels loose and unplugged. And now we're going to connect all these boards together so that once they're plugged in, all the boards light up from one power source. So we'll go over how to do that next. So I cut away because I was trying to do that, and it was very frustrating, and that was a lot of stuff to do, and I just couldn't get any good footage of it. So I do apologize, but basically you're going to plug J3 here they want you to go down around the grand staircase and plug it into J1 here. So you're going to kind of do this. And then what I did is I would totally recommend putting some tape to kind of hold it in place and keep it from, and train your wire. And then for the second board, J3 here, they want you to just basically loop straight around and put into J2. I don't mind telling you, this one was the one that was getting me very frustrated because the part that plugs in has to get past this. So you literally have this little gap to get that in there. Your mileage may vary, but it was a pain in the butt for me to get it done, to get it to all work out. And then of course we have our back two boards already connected over. So with that done, if you take the tester board and plug it into the very back open port, if we've done this right, all four boards on this part should light up together. And as you can see, I'm going to turn my camera a little bit. 1, 2, 3, and 4 sets are all lit up. So now if we carefully set this back down, the boat deck is lit. It's just very lightly lit because I got my lights on right now. So there, all four boards on the boat deck now light up at the same time, which is what we were going for. So now that we're done getting this thing wired up, we're going to add the pipes to it. Some pipes to this section. You might remember we got these pipes last issue, or last pack, and we didn't do anything with them. Now we are going to do something with them. For now though, ignore this pipe. This is part of a modification that I'm going to have to go over with you in detail, which we will touch on in the next stage. But for now, we're going to start on this side here. We're going to take this pipe, and it's going to go right into here. You're going to want to put some glue on these ends here. But you won't necessarily have to put any glue on these. As a matter of fact, you might want to put it in first, and then we'll put some glue on the tips in a minute. So it just goes into these big holes here and here, kind of at an angle. It's a tight squeeze to get it in there. But you'll hear it pop into, you'll feel it click into place. We're going to glue down these tips. Actually, once you get one tip glued down, it should just all kind of fit into place there. Like that. And then we're going to do the same thing with this set on the other side. Just like that. And now, before we move on to the end of this stage, we've got a vent to put in. It's this vent here with the longer arm, listed as 60K in your kit, or it's circled 33 in the KA set. If you haven't figured it out, it's going to sit right there on the edge, just like that. Let's glue that down. Sits there just like that. And that is it for now on this section. Now we gotta go do some more work on the hull, so I'll grab my hull and meet you back here. So here we are at the tail end of 64, and as you might have guessed, we're going to be putting in this piece. Now, I had to drill out all these extra holes. They're supposed to be double holes going back for a bit. You don't have to do that, but you know the drill by now. No pun intended when it comes to drilling out holes, so it should come as second nature to you. So this is going to be a little tricky because we got to get these 3 points. We got to get these 3 in from the front while at the same time getting this in from the back. So it's going to basically go like this. Okay, so the way they show you to do it in the instructions, it actually does work if you do it that way. You basically push it in. This part you push in kind of at a almost perpendicular to the rest. And then you kind of just pop it into position that way. But once we get that in, we're going to hold it in place with 4 of the LM screws. So once again, at least for a couple of these, we're going to need our Allen key. But for these two, we might be able to use our screwdriver. We might even be able to use the screwdriver to get into that one. Yeah. So about the only one we might not be able to get to with the screwdriver is this one. But these 3 we should be able to get to with a screwdriver. So we're going to start by getting these 3 in with a screwdriver. Okay, now that's in there nice and tight. But now we gotta focus on these bracers here, which I'm gonna try to show you here. Because we got one more thing to do before we're done with this stage. We have this bracket here, the cross support, and we're gonna put it obviously onto these. With these things pointing up. And then those are going to get held down with, you got it, a set of AM screws. Alright, and with that bracer in, that is it for stage 64. And now the answer to your Titanic trivia question. Just what prompted Molly Brown to cut short her trip and return to the United States? Was it A, she was short of money, B, she had a sick relative, or C, she was starting a new job? The answer to that is B. She had a sick relative that she had to get back to. So here we are at the start of stage 65, and we're going to be we're going to start by focusing on this section of the third funnel where these pipes are. But before we do, we're going to do our next Titanic trivia question. Now, for those who don't know, one of the things that came out of the Titanic disaster was the formation of the International Ice Patrol, which was designed to keep icebergs out of well-traveled shipping lanes. Who pays for the International Ice Patrol? Is it A, NATO, B, the Red Cross, or is it C, just principal shipping nations? And of course, the answer to that will come at the end of stage 66. So, if you look at your instructions, you have 2 sets of pipes that they want you to put onto this funnel. However, they are wrong. The piping they give you is not technically correct. Now, there's nothing wrong. If you want to stick with the plan, you just do the instructions as is. But the way it's supposed to look, I'm going to put a picture of how it's supposed to look right in this section. You can see that there's supposed to be a third set of pipes on the starboard side of it. So this is easy enough to fix, though. So what I've gone and done is I've already taken the liberty of fixing a part of this, because this set of piping, which they show going here like that, is actually supposed to go more towards the middle section. And if you look at this piece of piping, I don't know if you'll be able to see it easily or not, but there's this section here with 2 pipes that go down, which if you cut them right, will fit perfectly right onto there. Right into where these 2 pipes meet. So we're gonna glue this one down to our funnel in a few places. And also, in order to make this work, you will have to do something about this part, this pipe here. So just bear in mind, you may have to cut that down a little bit. So we're going to sit it just like that. And then because you have to really kind of move this piece around a little bit, I'm just going to put a little glue onto here and just reattach it in place. And there we go. Now that pipe is on right. You do need another one. You will, in order to make this 100% accurate, you will need another pipe like what they have on the... You'll need another piece of piping like the set we get on the port side. And it's just going to go right in here, just the opposite direction. I don't have that yet, or I'd fix it up. So just keep that in mind. I am working on getting that, and I will put it on as soon as I do. So with that mod all nice and done, let's go to something a little simpler. We're going to put a few pipes onto the 4th funnel. I'm going a little out of order here, because I kind of like to work in one direction, so I'm kind of working front to back. So the first thing we're actually going to put on here is we have a pair of these pipes that would go right here. Now the way they go is they kind of curve out a little bit, and obviously that's to take into account the machinery. So it's not going to be a perfect fit onto the part here, but we're gonna just you're just gonna kind of maneuver it in to kind of fit in just as good as you can. And you got a pair of them, one goes on each side. You have an end that goes down onto the deck and an end that goes into the funnel. Make sure you keep track of those two ends. So just like that. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just like that. So you should have those two in just like that. And that'll do it for those pipes. And now we got another pipe we're going to add right to here, which I'll do now. Now, there's this piping, which I don't have a part for in the KA set. I think it's an oversight. But it just really simply goes right in here and the 2 points on the boat deck. So you're going to glue. They want you to glue it. I would at least glue it on the back end here. The front end feels pretty secure in there, so I don't think you would need to put glue on that. But you don't want this end flailing around, so just put a little bit of glue in there. Get everything aligned. And so there you go. That bit of pipe is on, and with that done, the next things they want you to do are basically putting in benches, which, as you know, we're going to wait till the end to do. And then they also want you to put the roof of the wheelhouse on, but I'm using the China 3D wheelhouse, so my roof is already attached. So the next thing we need to do once all that's done is we need to get our hull again, because we got another section to add to it. So here we are with the hull again at 65, and as you probably guessed, what we've done to this side, we've now got to do this side. Same as before, we're going to start with the bottom of the hull. Get that in place. There, I don't mind telling you that was a little tricky to get in. It was fighting, but once you feel it get into place and snap in, again, IM screw on the bottom and then an LM screw in this part here. So again, I'm going to secure the bottom first with the IM screw. There we go, just like that. Got that on, but we're not quite done yet. Because we got another bracket that we got to put on. It's going to go here. And that is going to get secured down, just like before, with a pair of the AM screws. So there we go, and with that in place, nice and secure, that is all there is to do in this stage. So here with stage 66, we've got, of course, the black section of that hull that we've just been working on. But what they're going to have us do first is install the bracket on it. And I think the reason for that is because once we get this in, there's no way we're going to be able to get a screwdriver into that to put the brackets in. So they really want to make sure you have enough leverage to get this in there right. So as always, you put the bracket in place. And just like before and always, it's held down with a pair of AM screws. Just like that, that bracket is on. Now we're going to bring our hull section over here. And this time I'm going to try to show you what you need to do to get the piece in. So the way I was able to do this on the other side, it was basically you kind of feed it in like this at an angle. Till you get that part in first. And then you can get the rest of them to snap right into place just like that. And then all of these are held in with LM screws, which is going to be really long to get in because, again, this thing's not too wide. You can see there ain't no way I can get a screwdriver down in there to get it. So I'm going to go put those screws in off camera. One piece of advice, if you haven't figured it out, use gravity to your advantage. Kind of turn your ship onto its side and then let gravity help you get these screws to start going in. So go ahead and do that with your LM screws, and I will meet you back here once that's done. And there we go. With that hull section in place, that is the end of stage 66. The answer to your Titanic trivia question from 65. Just who pays for the International Ice Patrol? Is it A, NATO, B, the Red Cross, or is it C, the principal shipping nations? If you weren't able to figure that out, it is paid for by the principal shipping nations. They're the ones responsible for keeping the shipping lanes clear of icebergs. So here we are at the start of stage 67, and this is a pretty short stage, but it's a very momentous one because obviously we're starting the next deck down. So this will be the beginning of the A deck Promenade. So we're starting the next layer of the Titanic superstructure cake, as it were. But before we do that, though, your next bit of Titanic trivia question. What was Titanic passenger W.T. Steed noted for attempting to abolish in England? Was it A, hanging, B, white slavery, C, deportation, or D, the monarchy? And of course, the answer to that will come at the end of stage 68. So here we are with the forward section of the A deck Promenade deck. And as you can figure, we're going to be adding a bit of decking to this. Now, this is going to be a little tricky because you're going to want to leave space for structures later to go on here. So realistically, you really want this to line up flush to the edge right here. And just leaving enough space and just kind of let it settle on its own where it's going to go. So let's spread out our glue. Now keep in mind, we're not going all the way to the back on this because the piece of decking that we have doesn't go all the way back. And just like always, we pull off our protective layer here. And again, this first part's the most important. Get this part centered and correct, because if you don't, this is never gonna work. There we go, just like that. Now on the back here, technically that's where the directions say to stop, but we got a piece to add here. Because there is a bit of the expansion joint. Because there is a bit of the expansion joint that goes on here. So to each side of this, you're supposed to put in S17 from your KA set, which is, of course, just a straight piece of the expansion joint, and it's going to go on right here. And again, we're going to keep it lined up with the edge. So I'm going to put our glue stick on, our glue on. Then we're going to stick that in place, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Now once we got that and the decking down, that is it for stage 67. So we're going to kick off this final stage with the Ford Promenade Bulkhead. I've done some modifications on this with the set from Woody's Model Works, or Maritime Models as it's now called. Basically, I glued the parts that come with the bridge kit onto here. I also glued in these pieces that stick out on every other line here, because the ones in here connect to the deck, so we're not putting those on until later. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put on these brackets, and they do have a keyhole pattern, so they can only go in one way. And then we're going to secure those down with the screw of choice for this, the AP screws. Just like that. Now the instructions tell you to go ahead and attach this to the forward section of the promenade deck that we've just done. I'm going to advise you not to do that, because if we've learned nothing from the boat deck, it's let's get the entirety of the deck built first, then we'll start putting the details in. Now, fortunately, because this is a lower deck, it's probably not going to be as crazy detailed, but there's still a lot of stuff to put into this. So hold off on putting this onto your deck until we're ready to start putting, deck housings and stuff on the deck itself. Now, to end this stage, we need our hull back, so go grab that, and I'll meet you back here. So 68, and this pack is going to end much like it began, with us doing one more thing to our hull. And if you haven't figured it out, we just got to put on another cross brace piece. So just like before, we pop it into place, and we're going to hold it together with 4 AM screws. And there we are. So that is the end of that stage. That is the end of this pack. So the answer to your third Titanic trivia question for this pack. Just what was Titanic passenger W.T. Stead noted for attempting to abolish in England? Was it A, hanging, B, white slavery, C, deportation, or D, the monarchy? And surprisingly, the answer is he was trying to abolish white slavery. Not surprising that he would want to abolish slavery, but what's surprising is when you talk slavery, you don't typically think white slavery. So it's interesting to see that in England, even whites had their problems with slavery. So that's it for Pack 12 today, and as you can see, the star of the show is, of course, the boat deck, which we have now got pretty much everything on here. All the deck housings, the funnels, all of our... we do got a few things we have to add to it still, but for the most part, the boat deck is finished and good to go. So, and we've expanded on our hull again, so lots of stuff done on this issue. This is an issue of finishings, but also we started the next deck down, so it's also an issue of new beginnings as well. So very excited to see what comes up next with Pack 13, which, if I'm not much mistaken, means will be the halfway point of this model. Hard to believe already, but yeah, we're getting halfway done. So very excited for that to come up. Before we let you go, we got the final Titanic trivia question for between now and Pack 13. I'm going to give you a true-false question here. After the war, this would be World War I, by the way, Charles Lightoller became a successful chicken farmer. The true-false question. So, Charles Lightoller became a successful chicken farmer after World War I. You'll find out if that's true or not next time on the Model Frontier.